Hello and welcome. This is Alchemistexe, and this is a weekly update for August 5th, 2021. So we're officially into August, and the first part of that we saw in the monthly updates is going to be the Templar event, which features Alchemist Job Plus, the new unit Zex, and they both have new mementos. So Zex's memento is going to be limited, so that is worth remembering, whereas Ox's new memento, luckily, is normal pool. She's already got 2 other limited mementos, so I'm glad they knew to draw the line somewhere. So for that event, it's going to be into the special quests, and it's just like every previous Templar Job Plus event, where you've got the quests and the bosses, and then you use the coins that you get to summon the various prizes, one of which is going to be the tokens for Alchemist Job Plus. And for those that want to get it as quickly as possible, you're not going to be able to do it until tomorrow at the earliest, because some of the unique Job Plus items for Oct are given from the milestones on the hard quests, and those can only be done 3 times a day, and you need to do it 5 times total. So bare minimum tomorrow, so if you're in a giant rush, you have to be a little bit patient, but other than that, you can burn through it pretty quickly. And that is pretty much it for the content of the week. A couple of things are rerunning, like the Challenger of Limits and the Drill Through Your Limits, the ones that feature the items that you need for the protagonist job change. So if you haven't gotten those yet, it's a good time to do it, because that's the most scarce of all of the protagonist items. But with that, let's move on to the banners. Alright, so here we are at the banners. So I could see this being an easy skip week for a lot of people, just because Zex is another strong light / unit, and there's so many of those already. I'll go into that a little bit more later. But to start with, there's a free summon, so you should always do that. May not get anything good, but it's still free. There is one paid summon, and it's alright. This type of banner has been getting more and more common lately. Like first it was Genesis, and then they started doing it with Global, and now we've got it with the also Sprock units, which is Templars and a few others. I think it's okay. I guess technically, as far as all of the banners go, if you want to get Zex, this is probably your best chance just on raw stats alone, but otherwise it's okay. I don't think it's as good as the previous 2 versions of this, because not all of the units featured here are limited, even though they are all EX quest units, and some of them haven't even gotten that yet, even though some of them seem like they should have gotten it, like Inanna, especially Inanna. But I also want Naju to get his soon too. So I don't know, if you're a pretty big spender and you want to get Zex, probably worth it. For most people though, they could probably skip this, or at the very least wait till the weekend and see what else is offered. Then there's a whole bunch of skips in a row. 3 steps for what are all good units, but some of them you can get free via selector, like Oct, Vieri, and Ziba, and then Dry, Ikasa, and Zex can all be purchased in the Louise shop, so no reason to do these banners. In fact, at the very least, I've seen Dry in there as well, and then I'm currently working on getting Zex via shop, so none of these 3 steps I would recommend. Even though the units within, I definitely would. So the next banner is one that I could see people wanting to do, because it's a coin banner, and all of the units featured here are great. And even if you don't get any of the featured units, getting enough coins to get shards of units that you want is always very important, especially when some of them are very, very rare. Now, I don't think Nero is featured in the shop this time. It varies from time to time, but other units like Naju and Inanna are featured in the Veda coin shop, so if getting them further enlightened is important to you, then that makes this banner even more valuable. It's also just a good way of potentially acquiring some units. So there is that one, and then this banner I could see some people doing if they're a really big fan of Oct or a really big fan of Zex. Otherwise, everyone else could probably skip this. The Oct one is normal pool, so you can get it eventually, and the Zex one, it seems like it's pretty good, but I don't know if it's must-have. The things I always look for, like giant damage boosts, charge ups, snowballs, that kind of thing. It mostly looks like it just gives him the stats that he would want, but otherwise I definitely skip it. Maybe if light wasn't so oversaturated. And then the last of the new banners this week is a Templar themed one where you can get 5 reliefs to limit break the one of your choice, and the entire pool consists of Templar mementos, most of which are normal pool, but there's some limited ones in there too, like the Oct ones. I don't think most people should do this just because most of these mementos you'll be able to get for free, unless you really, really want the Oct ones, in which case it could be a viable use of your gems. But otherwise, everything else is old. So with that, let's do a small amount of summoning. Okay, so for summoning today, I'm going to do the free one, step 1 of the coin banner, and then the paid summon for also Sprock characters, because I like all of them, so I'm going to go for it, even though it's kind of dicey. But if I'm going to throw the dice for anyone, it's going to be the Templars. But I definitely don't recommend other people that aren't Templar fans to do it, because, it doesn't make as much sense from a meta perspective. So I already recorded this, so you're not getting my live reaction. So instead of that, spoiler alert, there's nothing really good happened in the summoning. So, but I want to talk about Zex, and the reason why I think he is an easy skip for a lot of people is just because we've had so many strong light units in the past, some of which were either equally or even more accessible, depending on who they were, except for Andex. Andex was definitely not more accessible. But there's so many strong units in light, and then we might be getting another one for global as well. So it's just a very oversaturated market. And then the timing is very bad also because of how close to Gate 7 we are. So with this Templar event, that was like the last kind of big event before Gate 7 as far as the Japan timeline goes. Unless we were to get another collab, like say King of Fighters or ReZero, that could potentially push it back, but I don't know how likely that is, given that we especially just had a collab as well. So that's not something I can really say in any concrete terms of probability. Just being like, we won't know until September monthly update is announced, but I think that that's a reasonable prediction to make, that Gate 7 would come out in September, just because normally a good guess would be the anniversary, but I just don't see how that's possible given like the amount of global content that would have to be made up in order to fill that gap. Doesn't seem likely. It seems like the simpler possibility would just be that they just release it before the anniversary. And because of that, because there's some really big units coming up like Nimel and Bianca, and then also some of the ninjas that are memento units from the current storyline, all of them being sought after, being the unit that comes right before all of that is just not a good position to be in. Like, even if you're very, very, very solid, like Zex is, it's still easy to pass up on someone like that, just because of, super strong meta-defining units that are coming. So I definitely wouldn't blame anyone for skipping. But that is all I have to say about that. So hopefully you all have better luck on summoning than I just did, and I will see you all next time.